Now that my WP config file has been edited, the next step is to upload all of the WordPress installation files to my hosting account. So I'm using FileZilla, the FTP client, and I'm going to go to Site Manager. Now I've already got this set up, the connection details for this particular website that I'm going to use. So it's just a case of clicking on Connect. And you can see here, this is the files on the server, sorry, the directories on the server. So I'm going into public HTML, and you can see here there's nothing on the site apart from this CGI bin directory. So in this part here is the local files sitting on my PC. So let's go into the WordPress directory, and I'm just going to highlight all of the files, and I can either drag and drop them into here, or I can just right click and choose upload. So that shouldn't take too long, but I'm going to pause this and I'll come back to it once that upload is finished. Okay, so that's all of the files uploaded now to the web server. Okay, so let's open up a browser window and go to the website. So here's my website here, and I'll click enter. And as you can see, it automatically starts up in the install routine. So this is something which is new for WordPress 4, the ability to choose your language. So obviously I'm going to choose English and click on continue. So we can enter a site title here, I'll keep this very basic, and a username. Now most people would probably type in admin, and in fact that's the default username for an awful lot of WordPress installations. However, my recommendation to you is to choose something fairly obscure, because it doesn't really matter what your username is, because you can choose how your name will be displayed on the website, and we'll go into that in a few minutes. So I don't know, let's just pick something random here. And I'll enter a password. Again, the longer and more difficult you make your password, the better. In fact, let me show you a couple of sites where you can actually generate some pretty strong passwords. So I've gone to this site here, strongpasswordgenerator.com, and all I need to do is click on this and it'll generate for me a strong password. I've got various options I can choose here. I can choose to avoid punctuation, etc., etc. So let's tick this and we'll get our password generated. So all we need to do now is just copy everything that's in this box and paste it in. But before I do that, let me just show you something here. If I was to choose a password of password, you can see here that WordPress tells you that that password is very weak. And if you want to make up your own rather than use something like this password generator, then you can do so, and it will tell you how strong or how weak that password actually is. But let's go and copy this password from here. So I'll just copy everything in this box and paste it into here. And you can see they're strong. And paste it into here again. And it asks for our email. And on your privacy, you've got the option to allow search engines to index your site. Now I'm going to turn this off for two reasons. First of all, this is just a demonstration website and I really don't want it getting into Google. And secondly, I'd advise turning this off while you're actually building your website. So once you've got to the stage where you've got the theme installed on your website, you've got your content in place, maybe your terms and conditions pages, your contact page, all of that sort of stuff, and you're happy with it, then you can change this to say, yes, I want to allow search engines to index this site. But at this point, I don't want that, so I'm just going to leave this as it is. Now, what I would say before we click on the button to install WordPress, this password for goodness sake, make sure that you paste it somewhere safe. So go into Notepad, whatever it is you want to use, and paste that password in there, because you're going to need to keep a copy of this somewhere. But obviously don't leave it lying around on a post-it note or something like that, because otherwise it just makes a mockery of doing a security course. Okay, so now that all the details are entered, let's click on the Install WordPress button. Now I'm using LastPass, and that's asking me, do I want to save the details of that? So I'll just save that site. And you can see here, this is just a password manager, and it saves all the details for me. And with LastPass, I can put a password on the password manager. So even though it's on my PC, somebody would need to enter a password to actually get into it. So the whole thing is actually quite secure. So that's it. That's all there is to install WordPress using their standard installation routine. So let's click on Login, and in here we enter our username and password. So I'm going to use LastPass to fill this in. So we've now installed WordPress and we are logged into the back end. And the good thing is that by doing it the way we've done it, we've changed the defaults. And if anybody's trying to hack our site using the defaults of like WP for the table prefix, then we know that they're wasting the time. We know that our passwords are secure, and we've done everything we can to change the defaults. Now, while I'm in here, there's two things I want to point out. First of all, if you look at the top, it says WordPress 4.0 is available. Please update now. And you're probably thinking, well, hey, didn't we just install WordPress 4.0? And the answer is yes, we did. So let's go to the updates, because there's something here I want to show you. One of the new features of WordPress 4.0 is that it has internationalization. So I chose to use the GB English, and it says here you can update to WordPress 4.0 EN GB automatically, or download the package, install it yourself. And then down here, this localized version contains both the translation and various other localization fixes. You can skip upgrading if you want to keep your current translation. So, to be honest, it's not that the version of WordPress is out of date. We've installed 4.0, so it is bang up to date. It's just really this internationalization bit. And I'm just going to leave it as it is at the moment. I mean, normally I would do the updates, but we actually have 4.0 and it is bang up to date, so don't worry about that. Okay, so the second thing I want to show you is, if you remembered, we installed WordPress using a slightly obscure username of FYT678. So if I go to the front end of WordPress, and we look at our posts, you'll see here that on the Hello World post, it shows the author as FYT678. Now, the problem is that's something you definitely don't want displayed, because when somebody's trying to break into your website, they'll be thinking, oh, okay, so there's a good chance that this user ID could be the administrator for the website. And what people will do is they will pick up FYT678 and they'll think, okay, well, let's just use that as the user ID. So there's two fields they need to fill in to get into your site, user ID and password. And basically, if you leave this as it is, you've just given them one of those fields. So you've just reduced their work by 50%. So what we need to do is we need to change this and make sure that this is not displayed. And the way we do that is in the admin, WordPress admin, we go down to users. I'll list all users. Hover over this and then the edit link appears, so let's edit that. And scroll down, and I'm going to enter a different nickname, and I'm just going to put in Chris. And then I'm going to say display name publicly as Chris. So let's update the profile. Now it hasn't changed the username. You can see there, username FYT678. But what will get displayed is Chris instead of FYT678. So let's go back to the front end of the site, and I'll just refresh that page. And you can see there, the Hello World post now says it was published by somebody called Chris. Now Chris isn't a user ID, so if whoever's trying to break into this site picks that up, we know they're completely wasting their time. They can try as many times as they like to log in as Chris, but they're not going to get in. So when you install WordPress, definitely make sure that you go into the users and edit the user account to have a nickname which is different from the username.